Hey guys, welcome to my channel. 13 hours into a restrictive water fast for Jesus. Just want to get really close to him, especially during this lockdown. I think we're about 3 weeks into a lockdown. Quick stats for you. I'm 193.2 pounds. This is hour 13 of almost a dry fast. I'm basically doing 2 cups of coffee with these herbs that are very powerful. They help fasting, they help you detox. The coffee cups are only 8 ounces, so I'm doing 16 ounces a day. And so that's pretty close to dry fast. I mean, that's intense. I'm doing this to get into autophagy and rebuild my cells and get rid of all the gunk and age backwards, get close to God, etc., etc. So the other thing I want to talk about is I'm getting closer to Jesus every year, but it's still a process. They call it the sanctification process. I found Jesus about 4 years ago while listening to Brian Head Welch, his song called Love, where he sings like Jesus, and Jesus, during the song said, "Stop your running, come back to me." And I just broke down crying. I had the Holy Spirit come on to me. I was bawling my eyes out for like 4 hours. And after that day, I was like, I need Jesus in my life every day. I got baptized last summer, so about 6 months ago. Didn't really feel transformed. It was a beautiful experience, but it happened so fast, and I think I had a lot of hungry ghosts. That's what they call them when you get these demons trying to come back into you and influence you negatively, and kind of like whispering dark thoughts inside of you. I had a lot of that after that baptism. Like they wanted to come back in, and I didn't allow it. But the thing is that I'm still doing a couple things I shouldn't. Um, I'm still I haven't masturbated for like 3 weeks, and so that's for the NoFap in the title. Basically, what that means is to abstain from any kind of masturbating or whatever. And you might be mad at me because you're like, you're a Christian, how dare you? And like I said, I am a new Christian, and I'm sanctifying and getting rid of these old habits that I've had since I was like 12. So I mean, it's they're not going to just all leave overnight, for me at least. I mean, some people like Todd White can just kick everything and become a power Christian in like, but even he said that he had 2 years where he was a hypocrite. He was still doing drugs, but then he would talk about Jesus while he was high on cocaine or whatever. And so he called that the hypocrite years. So the first 2 years, he was actually a hypocrite. He really wanted to know more about Jesus, but he was still doing his drugs. So I'm 47 years old, and they say that if you don't quit masturbating in your 20s, that you could go all the way until your 60s or 70s. And I don't want to go all the way to my 60s and 70s to quit. I want to become pure and blameless before Jesus. I think that's what has made me feel anxious around people in the past. Was I had a guilty conscience. I felt shame because I was still doing stuff like that behind closed doors, and I wasn't blameless because I was still doing that stuff. So I'm just trying to get really clean, and I'm going to chronicle this dry fast for you. Um, and I want to get down to 175 pounds and stay there. And I'm like I said, I'm 193.2 right now. 13 hours into almost a hard fast. It's a soft fast. You call it a restrictive water fast. 2 cups of coffee, 8-ounce cups of coffee with Chinese. I'll just call them Chinese herbs, but they're actually This guy named Gavin makes herbs. Uh, Check out the Interstellar blend. He does a lot of herbs that you can use for fasting. It really helps. I'm not recommending you just start fasting without preparing, so do your research. Um, you got to basically hydrate very well before you fast. My wife and I drank about a gallon of water a day for the last 6 days. So we're very hydrated before we started this. Plus, we have very powerful herbs that will help us um, do this. So, the other thing I want to talk about is basically the dreams I've been having lately have been very dark and perverted. I think it's the demons trying to convince me or persuade me back into a dark lifestyle of perversion. And sex was one of my biggest vices, sex and money. And I don't want to be like you know basically there's this huge sex trafficking bust going on in the world, and I don't want to be one of the people that, I mean, I'm not saying I'm a pedophile or anything like that, but with sex addicts, they have to constantly up the ante and do things that are more taboo and more kinky to get the same high. It's just like any other addiction that you have to increase the dosage or mix drugs or whatever to get the same high. And that's the same thing with money and sex. If you're addicted to those things, you have to get more and more and more, and it leaves your heart emptier and emptier and emptier. And the only thing that can fill your heart is Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. When I was saved, when I had that Holy Spirit come into me when I was listening to that song, I've never felt anything more powerful in my life as far as unconditional love. And that's what Jesus can give you. These drugs and sex and all these addictions leave you emptier. They're a lie from Satan. They convince you to do them, but right after you do it, you feel guilty, you feel shame. And Jesus doesn't give you guilt or shame. It's the devil saying, "See, I told you, you're a loser. You might as well just keep doing sex and drugs because you're a loser. You're never going to quit. You're never going to stay sober. You're never going to abstain from masturbating longer than 2 weeks." And that's Satan trying to condemn you and make you feel like crap. And when you feel like crap, you want to turn back to the drugs and alcohol and the sex and the money because it gives you a temporary high, temporary relief. But in the long run, it makes you feel emptier and weaker. You start forming anxiety and PTSD and bitterness and unforgiveness. I had bitterness for so many years, uh, against my parents, against friends, against everyone. Everyone was to blame uh, because I didn't want to look at my own what I did. I hurt a lot of people. I did really nasty things to people when I was younger. I walked away from relationships. I broke hearts left and right. I would just get bored in a 2-year relationship or do something stupid and just walk away without even saying anything to them. So I've done my fair share. I'm just as greedy as the top 1%. If you give me enough money in the right circumstances, I could be just as bad as anyone else. If you give me the right circumstances and environment, we are basically the product of our environment. And I know I have a lot of demon seeds inside of me. I think we all do. We're born sinners. The only thing that can wipe out us being born sinners is to become born again and find Jesus Christ. And that can wipe the slate clean, and you can become a Christian and walk hand in hand with Jesus without guilt, condemnation, and shame. So tell me if you're going through anything, if you're trying to quit any addictions. I'm going to keep you posted every single day while I do this fast. Like and subscribe. This is going to be awesome, guys. So leave a comment if you're battling with any addictions, any fears, any shame, any bitterness. Leave a comment, start a dialogue here, and we'll continue as long as this works. So God bless you guys. If you want to find Jesus again, read the short prayer under this video. Find God again. It's not about church. It's not about works. It's not about doing 20 Hail Marys to be forgiven. It's about forming a relationship. Just be real. You can be totally real with Jesus. He already knows the beginning and the future of your whole life. He already knows what you're going to do. So just come to him. Read the prayer under this video. Thanks for watching, guys.